guys, it's Jen with Invictus. Welcome to another session of Invitation by Invictus, where we bring on another community leader here in the Des Moines area and we talk about them. Today's guest is Whitney Warne of Ivory House Photography, and we're just going to roll on into the interview. But before I forget, don't forget to like, subscribe, whatever else these millennials do. I need that. So let's get to it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me on today, Jen. And I'm just excited for an incredible conversation.
Yeah, for sure. I always like inviting you into the studio because I'm always kind of like, what are you doing? What's next?
Something different every day.
Yeah, what can we collaborate on? So.
Well, we've already created a whole bunch of really incredible stuff. So
yeah,
this is just one more in our short relationship that's been packed with so much fun.
This is just action-packed. I mean, it's like literally Des Moines, like what, 2 degrees of separation? So
it might be one. I might just like look to the side and be like, oh, I know you.
Yeah. So, like, thanks for that huge shout out. Like, if you guys haven't seen on our Facebook or our Instagram page, Whitney did our team headshots recently, which turned out fabulous.
They were so much fun. Yeah. And I mean, not to mention that all of your people are incredible, and I've had such an amazing opportunity to work with all of your team members, but you have puppies.
Yes.
And I happen to be a big fan of puppies in the workplace.
Right. For those that don't know, that would be Esme the Doberman and Tank the Bulldog, which you can generally catch them in our studio 3 to 4 times a week, just hanging out
when they're not at doggy daycare.
Yeah, you know, my life,
living their very pampered life.
Yeah, they have their own schedules. So
I love it.
Yeah, my life is controlled by my girlfriend and my dogs. So.
I think that probably resonates with a lot of people.
Yeah, but I'm willingly to admit that.
Yes,
so.
Absolutely.
So let's just kind of get right into it. Let's talk about Whitney Warne and kind of where you grew up and then where you went to school, just to kind of set that baseline. I think you've told me at one point in time you grew up in the Johnston area.
I did. So take it back a little bit. I actually grew up on a farm. And then my mom moved us to Johnston when I was in 4th grade. So that was my start of the Des Moines suburb lifestyle. So Johnston High School, and then headed to University of Iowa for my 4 years of, upper level education.
Your undergrad, correct?
My undergrad, yep. Right. So there I did journalism and photography. So
okay, cool.
I already had a passion for photography in high school. I took a darkroom class, and I was not great at it. I mean, if anybody's good at developing film the very first time they do it, then I want to know who they are.
Yeah.
Because I think I ruined like 3 rolls of film. And I remember like going home in the middle of the day because I was so distraught that I had destroyed another roll of film. And my mom was like, well, are you going to quit or are you going to keep going?
Oh, yeah, that's a loaded.
That's loaded, statement. Especially for me. I'm like, are you going to quit? No, I'm going to keep going. Yeah. So I guess what was that? So I'm, 24 years later, 25 years later.
Yeah.
I guess I'm still going. No, that makes me way older. 12 years later.
Okay.
13 years later. I'm 33. If you guys can do the math, that'd be excellent. So I went to undergrad for photography and then just decided not to quit there and ended up in Rochester, New York for my grad school education in photography.
Okay. And what school was that?
RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology.
So why did you choose that? Because there's so many, art colleges throughout the United States. Yeah. What was so unique about it?
Well, they're incredible. They have a very long history with photography. George Eastman, who is the founder of Kodak.
Correct.
Founder of film.
Yeah.
Started there. So it was a very strong photography program at the time that I was there. And honestly, I got into it. So I went. I applied to 5 different schools, and RIT was the only one I got into.
Oh, for real?
Mm-hmm, for real. It happened to be the best school, so I was like, well, this is some sort of odd, amazing fluke.
It's a sign.
Right? I was like, well, I guess I'm going here. And I knew no one in Rochester. I just picked up and drove across the country and was like, I guess I'm doing this now.
Yeah. And you were there 2 years?
Well, the program was 2 years, and then I ended up staying in Rochester for 7.
So you stayed an additional 5.
I did. I couldn't get enough of the city. And it's really where I became an adult. It's where your 20s, at least for me, was a time to make a lot of mistakes in a town that I didn't have to live in for the rest of my life.
You didn't know anybody.
I didn't know anybody. And, I found myself working for another photographer. So as soon as I got out of grad school, I ended up working for a portrait photographer, and she changed my life. She changed how I viewed taking pictures. And really what you experience of me today is so much from her education and then our collaboration.
Yeah, she mentored you.
She mentored me. She's still my very best friend.
That's awesome.
And then when I made the decision, I was like, oh my gosh, I get to do this. I get to go and I get to go build my own portrait studio. I knew that the only place I wanted to build it was here in Des Moines.
Yeah. So 5 years there, you come back, you started Ivory House Photography, correct? And you just basically, you grinded it out for how long?
I just ran for 2 years, maybe 3 years. I ran so hard, so fast every day.
You just took everything that you can get your hands on.
Yep. And, I was fortunate that I had spent so much time working for my mentor that I knew what to say no to at a base level.
Okay.
But no matter what, you still have to figure out your own boundaries. You still have to figure out your own niche. And so I came from a heavily focused wedding photography studio. Okay. And that's a long business to build. You need a couple seasons.
Yeah. That's the long game for sure.
Absolutely. And I had like 8 weddings my very first year, just because of this grind personality of mine.
For sure.
But I learned really quickly and by accident that my true talent, passion, where I want to spend all day, every day is doing one-on-one individual portraiture with people. Yeah. And I honestly learned that in my mom's living room.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
It was February when I moved home. So February is always my birthday and my anniversary of my business. Okay. So I needed to make money because I had moved home and my bank account, I literally looked at it and I had $14 left. Whoa. To my entire name. Yeah. And I'd invested in my equipment. I was living at my mom's house. Thank goodness for that option. Mm-hmm. But I had to figure out how to make money in the dead of winter. Okay. So that meant indoors. And I didn't have money to pay for studio space, nor did I know anybody. So that wasn't an option. And I just started doing headshots in my mom's living room. I would move all of her furniture. I bought these huge pieces of 8-foot tall foam core. Yeah. And I started the style that I still shoot today. Wow. And people were like, these are amazing. These are so good. I can't believe that, that you're making this magic happen in a living room. And I'm like, you guys, this is like the easiest thing.
Yeah. Yeah. You come in, you get your shot, and then you leave.
Yeah. And for me, it's that individual connection, and it's the light that I look for. And for so many people who hold cameras in their hands, they're really intrigued by the camera in their hands. Right. I don't ever want to talk about my camera. It's like the least interesting subject.
You want to talk about the person you're shooting.
Talk about the person. That's everything. And so I'm a very directive photographer, and that's why people end up walking into my studio. Yeah.
No, like before you even took our pictures, I was telling my girlfriend, I was like, she's freaking everywhere. Like, I see people post on their Facebook page, their Facebook profile. I was like, that's a Whitney Warne. That's an Ivory House picture. And like, I remember it was just like scrolling. It was like, see. And she's like, oh. So yeah. So she was like, well, we'll see how your pictures come out.
And that's the thing. Everybody thinks that they're going to be the exception to the rule. Yeah. And I'm like, if it's possible for there to be an exception to the rule, then I am not as good as I think I
am. For her, it was more so like, she knows how hypercritical I am because, we're in the eye all the time. And I think it's safe to say that everybody that works for me, they're perfectionists in their own way. So because I kind of help push them into that aspect. Mm-hmm. So she knows that if I don't like my pictures, then something's not right. So when I, we were just at home when the pictures came through, and she's like, holy crap. So I was like, so do you want these pictures or not? Like, like we can set up a session for you and your organization. And she's like, yeah. Mm-hmm. Which they came out phenomenal. Yeah. Like they're everywhere now. Like they're on their website, they're on their social media, they're, even the other girls, the board members that got their pictures taken, like I looked at all of them. There was not a single bad picture in that batch. It was amazing.
I love to hear that feedback. And the willingness, for me, there's a few things that are going on. There's the willingness to take the step to show up to be seen. Yeah. Because it is scary. Most of us have had really bad experiences being photographed.
But that's what you specialize in.
It is, but there's a lot of people who specialize in taking pictures. There's a lot of people who don't do it very well.
Yeah, no, I can 100% say that. But I think you're good at helping taking those pictures that people had those bad experiences and they get these phenomenal pictures, right?
And then they know that it's not them. Like that's what I want people leaving. It's like so many people walk up to me and say like, I don't photograph well. And I'm like, that's a lie that you've told yourself that unfortunately might have been reinforced by somebody who was not capable of doing a good job.
Right.
And that's a bummer, but I get to change that here and now. So my entire mission is to let people know that they do photograph well. It is 100% possible, and you get to like being photographed.
Right. So that's what takes us to that unapologetically extra sessions.
Look
right?
at you saying it. So many people are like, how do you say that? Unapologetically extra sessions. So that whole concept and a little background, unapologetically extra sessions are 15-minute really quick sessions that take place at a different place around Des Moines once a month.
Yeah.
And 15 minutes to a lot of people are like, can you get one good picture during that time? And I'm like, oh, you guys don't even understand.
Yeah. Well, you say 15 minutes and that's mind blowing to me because every time I see you post like advertising or showing the pictures in post-production, they're phenomenal. So for 15 minutes, it seems like you spent an entire day with them just shooting them.
Yeah, no. And honestly, I say I can get your photo within 3 minutes. Like that's all I need to take a really excellent photo. The rest of the 12 minutes of our time is just us having fun. It takes 3 minutes to get somebody comfortable, show them on the back of the camera how incredible they look, and then we can have fun.
Yeah.
So those unapologetically extra sessions are really the culmination of me realizing that people get to have multiple experiences in front of the camera.
Yeah.
And the entire reason for this is that I truly believe the more that you are visualized, the more that we see ourselves, accept ourselves, and even, dare I say, think we look hot.
Yeah.
The more that we get to embody that. The more we get to walk around every day and be like, I am hot shit. And that makes us just more powerful creators in this world.
Yeah. Just having that confidence. You know what I mean? Like, I'm boss. Yeah. And I know I can freaking
and
kill it.
And I look boss.
Yeah.
And some people are like, oh, it's not about looks, or I don't want people to think I'm vain or narcissistic. And I'm like, having ownership over your body, living confidently in the space that you take up in the world is not narcissistic. It's being proud of who you are.
Yeah.
Period.
It's just who you are. That's it. Wow. That's amazing. So 15 minutes just to, I think we helped create a video for you to do that.
Which is incredible.
Yeah. And it came out really well. It's like, it's still one of my top 10 videos to watch.
Well, it was just so much fun. I didn't know you very well at that point. I didn't know your team very well. And you guys showed up and you were just, I just did my thing. Yeah.
That's all we were there to do.
And you guys captured it. And there's this moment in the video where I'm like, my hair's flowing and I'm laughing and I'm just like, oh my gosh, that's me.
Yeah.
And it's flattering because I have the same, and you guys know this by now because we worked together a few times, but I have the same insecurities that anybody showing up in front of my lens does. Yeah. I'm like, so what angle is this happening at? What's the lighting situation? Yeah. Explain it to me so I know.
Yeah.
And I try not to be I don't even try not to be a micromanager. Like I am very upfront, show me.
I think it's
but you guys already proved that you know how to get it done.
Yeah. I think that's just some of that creative aspect. You know what I mean? Like, I think as a creative, you're always thinking of these things no matter what, whether you're in front of the camera or behind the camera. So I think, that's just totally normal. When you came and shot our pictures, we were the same way. We were kind of like, well, what about this, Whitney? You know, so it's perfectly normal. But
when thinking about the outcome, we both understand, if she's standing here, the outcome might look like this.
Yeah.
Because we both work behind the camera.
Yeah.
So there's that foundational knowledge of what can go right and what can go wrong.
Right. Right. I think my favorite piece of the video is you just having fun and then the people that you're working with. But at the same time, you say in the video is that all it takes is 15 minutes to change your life. And that is such a true statement because it's just, sometimes that's just the confidence people need to excel at what they're trying to do.
I 1,000% agree with that because I've watched it. I'm almost to my 5th year in business here, and I cannot wait to cross that particular line.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm just kind of moving towards it. But over that 5 years, I've built these relationships and I've gotten to watch people rise with me. And I've been photographing some people now for that entire amount of time, and watching them from the first time that they walked into my studio till now. When now the people I've been photographing the longest, there's just a shorthand. I don't have to tell them a lot of the things that I say to my newbies. We just can communicate. And it's also that it's not that they're getting more photogenic, because that's also something I don't believe in. They're just so confident that their movements are more present and they're more connected when we're shooting.
For sure. So Ivory House is you, Megan, and Amanda, correct?
That's my team.
That's your team. So Megan helps you shoot and edit?
Yes. So Megan does all of my photographs. So if you've seen anything you liked there, she definitely took it.
Okay.
She also does all of our production. So basically from the time I take a photo till the time the client receives it, I haven't done anything. That's all Megan. So she's incredible. She's been with me nearly from the beginning. Like we're literally at 4 years together.
Oh, wow.
I know. So she has been the linchpin in the success of this business.
That's
Her
awesome.
Consistency is above and beyond.
Consistency makes a huge difference.
It's incredible. So she's been with me for so long. And then Amanda joined us about a year ago, a little over a year ago now. And I had been looking for an admin for a really long time. And to call Amanda an admin is just like a very functional term for the person who literally controls my life in the best possible way.
Yeah, she controls your schedule.
Yeah, she controls my schedule. She controls our invoicing. She communicates with all of her clients. She knows. I mean, she asked me the other day, we were putting together our standard operating procedures for the business.
Oh,
just
you
to
are?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're redoing them because so many things have shifted. And she was like, so I'm getting emergency contacts for everybody. And I'm like, Amanda, you are my emergency contact. Like, who else do I call?
Right.
It's like either you or my boyfriend. And like, you know, you kind of have to answer my call. So I think you're my emergency contact. He has to answer too, but a little different. So she is just integral. And it's really my job to make sure that she is empowered all the time to answer all the questions. Because otherwise, I know, and she's just on top of it. And
she's like on top of shit, like you would not believe.
Yeah, and I'd love to hear that feedback because they both are. They both are. They're committed to what we're creating.
Yeah,
and I feel so lucky to have found two people who are like not just in on the product and in on me, but in on the mission.
Right, for sure. So we've got Ivory House, and then I saw not too long ago you posted about your Enneagram stuff. So let's kind of talk about that. Like for the people that don't know what an Enneagram is, do you boys know what an Enneagram is?
Oh, you're gonna learn.
Okay. So tell the general public, and when I say my boys, I'm talking about my interns because they're behind the cameras. What an Enneagram is, and what's so unique about an Enneagram.
Okay, so an Enneagram is basically a personality test. If we boil it down and strip out all the bells and whistles, that's the best way to introduce it. But it is so much more than that in the sense that it is the way that we can talk about our core motivations and desires and our core fears in a way that helps us with self-growth.
Okay.
So there are 9 Enneagram numbers. One is not better than 9 or vice versa. They just happen to be numbers.
They're just like categories, right?
Yeah, they're just categories of humanity.
Okay.
And what we find out through the Enneagram is what's holding us back and what is making us strong. And usually those are two sides of the exact same coin.
Oh.
Yeah. Yes.
So a double-edged sword.
Double-edged sword. What makes me the sharpest is also what is sometimes my downfall.
Yeah, could hold you back.
Exactly. So learning my number, I'm an 8 for all of you out there listening who might be interested. Learning my number a long time ago now, about 5 years ago, was the gateway for me to really starting to understand and accept myself.
Yeah.
So that was my starting point. And then learning everybody else's number and really kind of indoctrinating everybody into this.
Yeah.
It just brings a level of compassion and understanding to relationships that I'd never experienced before.
Right.
Because we get to understand that the things that might drive us crazy about another person is literally what is emitting from them based on their fears and desires.
Ooh, yeah. And
so my compassion just expanded tenfold when I could understand the reason why somebody might be acting a certain way. Okay. It also helped me ask the right questions. So my partner's a 2, and learning, and I'm sorry
Right.
for anybody who's not in on this conversation, but me knowing that and being able to ask the right questions, being able to know enough about his type
Right.
that we can communicate.
Yeah.
So I think it's incredible. I'm absolutely obsessed.
Yeah. For those that don't know, which I learned a couple weeks ago when we went out to dinner, that's how Whitney and her boyfriend met, is because lots of people now, which I've now paid attention since we've had this conversation, they actually put their number on their Facebook profile. And that's what Eric did, which I'm not surprised. So,
No, it was perfect. And it was just this serendipitous moment. He had changed his profile 2 days before
Oh, I didn't know
to
that.
include that. And, he was reaching out to be a client. He was asking a clarifying question via the Facebook.
Right. Which was, can dudes do unapologetically
yes.
extra?
So it
and
all
that
ties
answer
in.
is yes.
Yes, dudes should do. I'm going to take a moment here.
Okay.
So Eric reached out about unapologetically extra, and his hesitation was that dudes couldn't do it. And I'm like, dudes get to be extra too. There is no difference in our need to be seen and validated for who we are.
It's not gender bias.
It is absolutely not. The thing is that most dudes don't show up for these. Now, I photograph a lot of men. And I love the experience. But
primarily for their headshots.
Primarily for their headshots. And I would love to see more guys stepping outside of that box that they think is acceptable and saying, whatever, I'm going to go get incredible photos of myself.
Yeah.
Now, the problem is I'm a woman. And that's not an actual problem. But what I found is that when I am doing a rallying cry, because I'm a woman, women think I'm only speaking to them. Men don't understand that I'm also speaking to them.
Yeah.
Even though I don't speak specifically to any gender.
Correct.
Ever.
Yeah. You're just come all, come one, come whomever.
Come whomever. But I've realized over time that this might be getting a little, I don't know, archetypal or historical, but when men speak, we all think that they're talking to us because they're the dominant voice of the culture.
Right.
When women speak, men don't think that they're included in the conversation or I'm not talking to them.
Yeah.
And so generally it's a, female business owner thing. And I'm like, that's awesome. I love my female network.
Yeah.
But for me, having powerful men on my side who are willing to show up and do the work of self-growth, getting in front of the camera, changing their ideas, shifting perspectives, leading this community, that is important.
Yeah, I might send the boys then for an unapologetic extra. You guys ready for that?
Yes, absolutely.
I'll make sure Justin cleans up his beard before he goes.
Get a little trim. I don't know, the beard's pretty extra. So
yeah. So unapologetically extra, what are your sessions for the month of October and November coming up?
Yeah, well, October's already fully... That's a lie. I'm not doing unapologetically extra sessions in October because I'm doing $100 headshots.
Right.
So that takes up all of my time and bandwidth.
Yeah.
And November is going to be at Hoyt Sherman.
There you go.
Oh.
Sign up for unapologetically extra on your website, correct?
There's a book now page. Anything that's a current mini session is available there all the time.
Hoyt Sherman is a cool place.
Beautiful.
Didn't they just get done renovating it a little?
I don't know what their status is. They were renovating the back. So
okay. Yeah.
The stage should remain intact. And
yeah.
Go.
Guys, if you have time, it takes 15 minutes to change your life. I might send the boys out in November.
And if you want to wear like suits and stuff, that'd be great.
You guys be gangsters.
So dapper.
Yeah, there you go. Nick, you can use that for your graduation picture.
Yes.
Yeah, he actually graduates in December.
Congratulations.
So, yeah. He's doing his internship with us.
I love that.
So,
well, you couldn't be learning from a better team.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope he sticks around after his internship.
We'll keep him.
Yeah. He can't go back to Ohio.
Definitely not.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're into November, and then what else we got going on in the month of November as we going into 2020 with you?
Well, 2021 is going to be a shift.
Okay.
Now, I'm always going to have Ivory House, and when I say this, people get like a little scared.
No, you'll always have creative control over Ivory House.
Exactly, and I will always still shoot, but really where my passion has started to shift is into this self-development, personal development, and group coaching.
Okay.
I'm doing a ton of it. I do a lot of personal branding coaching with people through the work of group coaching.
Yeah.
And it is so impactful, both on me and the group members in what we're working on. So in 2021, I'm working on doing that on a much larger and much more intentional scale.
Which means?
Drum
roll.
I am creating an unapologetically extra Facebook group. And that sounds
Cool.
very small, but the entire intention, it's going to be a closed group. We're capping it at 300 people,
Oh,
and it
wow.
is going to be a coaching atmosphere.
Nice.
So it will be a pay to play. But what I'm looking for are people who are really interested in diving into the conversations.
Got it.
So the first couple months, we're going to focus completely on the Enneagram.
Right.
How do we relate with the Enneagram? How do we use
Right.
it? How do we uncover these things so that we can grow? And
Right.
then in January, we're going to dive into mindsets. How is our mindset holding us back? How is it growing? We're going to talk about relationships in February. And really, this group of people is going to be together because we don't grow alone.
Correct.
We need to be in communication and we need to be seen by others in order to grow. And I learn the most by watching other people get coached. Mm-hmm. So I will be in there fully actively coaching. It's the only place that you're going to be able to access my podcast because I'm doing the podcast for, with, and by my group.
Nice.
I know. I'm so excited. I want to create content that's specifically for this group of people they're going to be my running buddies.
Right.
Like I want people that really want to mentally level up with me.
Yeah.
And so I'm creating that closed space of open conversation.
So if hypothetically I wanted to join this group, is there like a time commitment that you have to give, like 6 months in, a year?
Great question. So like, should I stay in for a year? Should I stay in for 6
Yeah.
months? So I haven't worked that out quite yet. We're still in the like model phase.
Right.
My ideal is that people stick around.
Okay.
Is that this is a year long, 2 years long, because we're just going to keep moving forward.
Yeah, growth.
Absolutely. So there's an option. There's of course going to be an option where you can say like, okay, I want to do Enneagram and just Enneagram. So I'm going to stick around for 2 months.
Okay.
But for me, the consistency of the community is key. So I will
Yeah.
be rewarding that and I will be reinforcing that.
Got it.
Because I want people who are committed. To me, commitment is the top priority in our self-growth journey.
Yeah.
Is saying I'm going to keep doing this every day.
Yeah, for sure.
Which means that I get to keep showing up for it every day
Yeah.
too.
Right. It's two-folded, right? Like your client is growing and you're growing with your client. So,
And then as a group of, however many people we end up being, we are all our biggest cheerleaders.
for sure. Yeah. If you, like when I work with other business people, especially in the female aspect, I always tell them, well, if we don't look out for each other, who will, right? So it's just easier, not so much easier, but it makes sense just to make sure that everybody's on the same page.
Absolutely. And on that note, it's when I think about making an impact in the world, first we need to know exactly who we are and have a strong acceptance, if not like love for ourselves. Then we need to come up with mechanisms that keep us in the routine of acceptance, because we can very quickly fall out of self-care, fall out of self-growth.
Right.
And then we have to have the willingness to step out into the community to take that impact and
Right.
make that ripple effect.
Doing uncomfortable things.
Comfortable things.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm a big fan of getting uncomfortable
Yeah.
because it means that we are shifting not only ourselves, but the people around
Yeah.
us.
It's just basically getting comfortable to be uncomfortable. Yeah, for sure. I've always believed that in order to grow, you have to do those uncomfortable things.
Absolutely.
So-
If it scares me a little bit, I'm like,
Oh,
okay.
yeah. Well, if it doesn't scare you, then it may not work.
Yeah, exactly. If there's nothing at stake, then what are we doing?
Yeah,
here?
I look at it's like two things, right? If there's nothing at stake, then why am I doing it? And if I'm paying to play, you bet your sweet ass I'm going to make sure my money is going where it needs to be going to.
Showing up.
Yeah.
And that's why when I thought about creating this group, I'm like, I want to create a group coaching program where it's accessible monetarily for people to say yes to this, for people to say yes to themselves, but they have to have skin in the game.
Yeah.
Because it keeps us showing up.
Well, it keeps with the accountability side of things as well.
And I want strong minds. I want people saying
Yeah.
yes that are ready to participate.
Yeah, it's not a gym membership where you pay $10 a month and
No.
sometimes you use it and sometimes you don't, or you don't use it at all and you forget about it a year later.
And people who have reoccurring gym payments and they don't even know it, I'm like,
Yeah.
how does that work for you?
Yeah. Yeah, you just basically lost $150 to $200.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you didn't do jack with it. Yeah.
Whereas I know when my gym payment comes out and I'm like, I feel like maybe I didn't pay them enough because my ass got kicked.
Yeah. Which is by Medipolis at Black Collar.
My Black Collar CrossFit crew.
Yeah.
Every morning, 7:15, come join me.
Yeah. Feel the pain.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. I love Medi. Medi's good. Good shit for sure.
Yes, she is.
So if come November, if I wanted to get in touch with you about this, is there a website? I know that you said there's going to be a Facebook page.
Yes, there will be all these things. So you guys, I'm in a huge stage of growth and shifting right now.
Okay.
So you might have to grow and shift with me on the technical side of things. But whitneywarne.com, I know it's going to be so beautiful.
That's gangster.
I can barely I feel like a little hot talking about it.
Yeah.
Because for me, going all in on my name
That's
was
a lot.
a big step.
Yeah.
Big. But what I realized with what I've been creating over the past 5 years is it gets to be me.
Right.
And that doesn't mean, I'm a huge community person. I'm all about like leading a charge and I need people there with me.
Right.
But I was starting to make brands, literally just coming up with brands because I didn't want to use my name. Instead of just saying, hey, come to whitneywarne.com. You're going to get my coaching programs. You're going to get me as a speaker.
Right.
When I write my book, you're going to be able to come look for it there.
Yeah.
These are all the things I do.
Your one-stop shop for everything.
Exactly. So I just decided to stop avoiding the unavoidable
and just
and
dive
go
in.
all in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, if you're going to preach it, you better do it.
Exactly.
So,
and it's so interesting because we all have different layers of that and levels of that. Now, some people might think how could you be doing any more in the leveling up zone? And I'm like, there's always I see my own space.
Yeah.
And for me, going all in on whitneywarne.com was part of that space. And
Yeah.
who knows what that's going to create and open up, but I know it's a whole new level.
Yeah. That's amazing. So look for whitneywarne.com, but I'm sure once it goes live, you'll make the announcement on
I will.
social media, Facebook, things like that.
So in the meantime, we'll be announcing those things on Ivory House Photography. There will be a Whitney Warne specifically business page that's going to get created along with it just to give updates. And you can follow me, Whitney Warne, on Instagram. That's a lot of my personal stuff, thoughts, ideologies.
Right.
And if you want to see some beautiful photos of people in our community, that's where you go. You go to Ivory House for that. So.
Yeah, for sure. So Ivory House is, for those that might be freaking out, Ivory House will still be around.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You will still have creative control over Ivory House.
And I'll still be shooting as well.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So don't freak out, guys.
Yeah, still here. Don't you worry.
But Whitney Warne,
really spending that time, just shifting that energy a little bit. It's what I've always been doing. I am just doing it intentionally and specifically now.
right. Yeah. Full intention, full bore. Okay. Well, we can't wait to see what happens going into 2021. Really, the Rona didn't stop you one bit, did it?
No, it didn't. In fact, it made all of this happen.
Yeah.
It was the catalyst to really looking at every part of my life and taking a big red pen and saying what did work and circling the things that did work and working on those things.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're the same way. This is where all this live streaming equipment came from. So,
and I love it. I love watching businesses pivot.
yeah.
Because creativity needs boundaries. We are the most creative when we are back up against a wall. How am I going to get out?
Fight or flight. And
I have a feeling we're both fighters.
Yeah, for sure. I'm coming out kicking, punching. I fight old ladies, cats, dogs, old people, young people. Don't matter.
I spent a lot of time fighting my plants in quarantine, but why aren't you staying alive?
Yeah, for sure.
I love it.
Well, Whitney, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
We'll probably do a follow-up with you after the first of the year, kind of let you just get your feet wet with everything and just do a follow-up and see where things are. And kind of, it's always cool to hear other people talk about, what worked and what didn't work, right? Or I think in anything, it's kind of like the more knowledge you have, the more power you have in yourself, right?
And that self-reflection of like, okay, I said all of these things that I'm going to do. Now I'm having that, like, I said them out loud.
Yeah, you broadcasted
like,
the
they
shit.
were recorded.
Yeah.
Now we'll be like, and I know that holds me accountable, but I also know that it will shift. Like it gets to, like, it will grow and I'm going to learn things. And when we touch base in 4 or 5 months, I'm going to have so much to tell you about this process.
For sure. Yeah, we look forward to it. So if you guys if you want a headshot taken, check out fivoryhousephotography.com, correct?
Mm-hmm, that's it.
And then you can also check Whitney out on Facebook or Instagram, Whitney Warne, or Ivory House Photography on either social media.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys.
Thank
we'll
you.
look forward to the next Invitation by Invictus.
Love it.